Rival, they had the, what was it, the Soul and the Geb. Soul could have easily went into Votan, which it did, but didn't want to see the Raw on top of it. And now heading into picks and bans for game number 2, Rival still focusing out against Pretty Prime.
The Morrigan first banned once more. Obey had the first pick last time around, so we'll have to wait and see what they want to do this time. They first picked Bologna for Maniac, who looked very, very strong on that goddess once more. He always has a pretty solid performance on a god like Bologna. So Obey finds their first ban similar. It's in fact the exact same to game 1 with the Athena.
I gotta say, well, just like that, before I mentioned my statement, Rival banning away the Odin against Captain Twig, that's a great respect ban. To be able to play such a utility style jungle and have it taken away from you. But look at this, Obey Alliance taking away the Terra, leaving the Robin, Bologna, and Osiris open. If Rival pick one, I can almost guarantee you Obey are going to get the next 2.
Exactly, just pick them away. We saw them do it against Luminosity, where they had the Osiris jungle. Twigs played that very well. It is going to be the Osiris for Rival. Obey could go Bologna Robin. They could go Bologna Wukong.
I was going to mention Sun Wukong hasn't been really looked at too much in this first game. It was banned away. I can't remember if it was the first or the secondary ban stages, but either way, Obey Alliance has some flexibility with these next 2 picks.
Could go towards the mid lane for Pretty Prime. Soul is open, but Prime, one of the few mid laners who I don't think I've seen actually play that goddess as of late with how popular she is. I'm not sure if Prime's actually picked her up.
Well, whether or not he's going to pick her up or not, his god pool is very diverse as well. We haven't seen too much Zeus in the PC side of things very often, and bringing it back so casually here in the semifinals against Team Rival. You can really tell Obey Alliance has not only done their homework, but they've been scrimming a lot behind the scenes.
That man on your screen, Captain Twig. We're going to talk about versatile god pools. It's right near the top. He's got that Naja that we haven't seen quite yet this tournament, but he played it to near perfection during the online portion of the summer split. Could go for that. Serket was basically perma-banned all of the online portion and then has seen no bans or picks at all during this tournament, so wouldn't be surprised to see one team pull her out, but Obey might feel like they don't need to pull off that strategy quite yet. The Sun Wukong, the first pick, and the Geb. So taking a page out of Rival's book here, taking away the Geb.
I don't expect Maniac to be playing the Geb in the second game.
There's
probably going to be the Sun Wukong. Maybe Captain Twig will take that if Obey can pick up another warrior. If there's going to be no Bologna pick for Ice Baby, then maybe Obey Alliance take that before the secondary ban phase.
I like this from Obey because you're right. They don't even have to take the Bologna here because that would make Rival waste a ban on it. And then they can just put Maniac on the Wukong and put something else for Captain Twig. Or if Rival ban away other things, then they can go for the Bologna and put Twig on the Sun Wukong jungle. Very versatile so far with these first 2 picks out of Obey. Rival pick Fafnir for Kalas. This was the second ban by Obey in game number 1. They still banned a Guardian second, but left open the Fafnir. Rival's going to take it, and Rival will take the Robin for themselves. So what we thought Obey might do, Rival take away underneath their own banner.
I like this idea and mindset here from Rival. 2 great frontline warrior penetrators is going to make the backline out of Obey Alliance very difficult to handle. However, they do have the Geb for Emilzy to be able to handle some of the pressure at least.
Obey has 1 more pick before the second ban phase. Could be something for Ataraxia here. The Kerninos has been very, very popular for him, and we see why after that game 1 performance. I really don't think they're going to go jungle or solo in this instance because they want to keep that Sun Wukong open to possibilities. I'd imagine this is either going to be for Pretty Prime or Ataraxia.
Could be an easy Vulcan pick here for Obey Alliance. We saw it banned away in the secondary phase by Rival, not wanting to deal with a lot of his choices. His god pool is very diverse. He does so well on the Vulcan, but Naja gets selected. With that Odin ban, Captain Twig going back to his comfort pick.
Rival definitely going to be looking to ban away Burst Mages after that pick for Captain Twig. As I mentioned, Naja, one of his more successful gods during the online portion. Happy to see him pick it up here at LAN because it's an exciting god to watch.
There's just too many Burst Mages left open on the table. You're looking at what? Scylla, Vulcan, Poseidon, Ra, Thoth. like all these mages, you can't ban away all of them, so you're gonna ban away some of the ones that you don't want to deal with. However, Obey Alliance are gonna make it slightly easier by banning away one of their picks that they could have done, considering that they have the next pick.
But Wolfie is so strong on that Ra. I think that's a good respect ban from Obey. Would have been plenty of setup for him with that roster.
I was wondering why Obey just don't play Ra for themselves, because if Naja is going to go in and they're going to have the Geb shield anyway for him, just use that Ra heal on top of the easy setup. You could have enough time with the Naja ultimate to get your 1-4 combo off as a Ra.
Kernanos and Nox, the two bans from Rival. Nox, a pretty solid ban in this instance. Would have been plenty of setup for Pretty Prime in that mid lane, as well as bringing the burst with that ultimate.
So smart of a Nox ban. Pretty Prime brings it out every now and then, and considering you have such a front line that wants to get into that back line, it's going to be easier now not having to worry about that silence cloud from the Nox.
But you do have to worry about getting hit by that final judgment. And Pretty Prime, oh so good in bringing that thunder with the Thoth. Now Rival, down to their last two picks, need their mid and Hunter, both Soul and Ra banned away.
Could see potentially Kronos with a physical Hunter trying to really work this coerce from the Fafnir into their team composition. It's gonna be the Giannis.
Wow, a god that saw very little play during the summer split, a god that has not seen a lot of success even when played during the summer split. Wolfie trying to bring Giannis and resurrect him from the depths. Now Obey's got one more pick. I believe they're pretty much out of bank time as well, so not a lot of time to make this choice as they're looking for their Hunter to round out the draft. Ataraxia has Hu Yi on the table, has played it a little bit so far this weekend. Rom is going to be his lane matchup, brought by Vote, who had a pretty good.
I was going to say Xing Wei.
Yeah.
Xing Wei is a goddess that Ataraxia just prefers and loves. He's actually brought it to the meta before she was really popular in Season 4, and for good measure now, with an extra mobility here, he's going to be able to really pack the punch and farm very safely. And the whole idea behind this Giannis pick for Rival is the Osiris and Robin diving the backline. Thoth covers a lot of distance with the dash, especially if you're going to dash through your wall, but the portal is going to help catch up to it.
It's true, through space and time can let you catch just about anybody. And that's the idea here for Rival's mid laner. Can also make that rotation very easy. And Naja is a character that when there's multiple people on top of him, if he misses the ult, he's pretty much a duck in the water. I mean, there's no way for Naja to escape without use of that ultimate.
And whether it's going to be the Osiris or the Robin in the jungle between Deathwalker and Ice Baby, I'm kind of expecting this Osiris to go in that lane, really trying to punish Maniac in that solo lane. He was pretty much left to free farm after that first engagement in the mid lane. Once he made the counter rotation, he got that 2-level lead, and I'm not expecting Deathwalker to do the same kind of early rotation here. He's probably going to play a little bit more standard. And if we look at his items here, yes, he does go for that early teleport.
It has the health chalice and the health pots on top of that with the death toll. Going to be pretty difficult to poke out the Egyptian god in the solo lane. Game 2 between Obey Alliance and Team Rival. Obey wins game 1 in a back and forth affair. I gotta say, I like where Wolfie's head's at already. This is my favorite Giannis skin. I love the effects. I think they're gonna win it. That's all I needed to see.
I mean, whatever skin you like. I like personally the Base Hunter one, the Bass Hunter one, but either way, playing your favorite skin, Wolfie in that lane, not gonna have to worry about the Warlock stacks out of Pretty Prime this game. Instead, the Book of Thoth stacks.
Well, he doesn't have a lot of health potions because of that only one, and no other sort of starter item to help sustain him, and he gets some good poke pre-first wave in that mid lane, dropping down to below half HP, has to use his only health potion available. Twig is here, no frenzy for him this time in that mid lane. I'd imagine the Team Rival is going to end up getting the better of that clear.
It seems to be the case here already. Ice Baby trying to go into those archers. Vote going to eat some poke, but it's Rival that clear out the dual lane first. Could have looked to play slightly aggressive in that dual lane, especially considering that it's Obey that's going to be defending their own speed instead of making the rotation towards dual lane.
Both Maniac and Deathwalker get pretty low on that first wave, but as I mentioned, Deathwalker has got that health potion and the health chalice and the cleave auto attacks from the death toll. Wukong has a health chalice and some multi-pots, and that's about it in terms of health regen. So that poke war certainly favoring Deathwalker. Look, he's already full HP. Maniac still sitting at about half as Captain Twig comes over and helps him secure his blue.
You're really looking at a specific level in this matchup between Sun Wukong and Osiris. Deathwalker is always going to be playing aggressive on this Osiris, going to be looking for those in-hands and the consistent slows, whereas Wukong is just looking to out-clear first, and you're not going to stop an Osiris from dealing damage to you anyway, so as long as you're able to clear out the way first, then you're looking for the rotational plays, trying to make the bigger impact potentially in the mid lane.
You said it was a specific level that Wukong is waiting for. Which level is that? I'm sorry if I missed it.
It's about level 6 or so. Once you get 3 points in your cudgel or Master's Will, it honestly doesn't matter which you decide to choose. The cudgel will clear out the wave a little bit easier with that 20 to 25% extra bonus damage towards minions. However, the Master's Will, as you level that up, it does more damage to God, so that's what you're really looking forward to. Not only that, there's less mana being expended in the Master's Will.
I mean, Sun Wukong has kind of been the de facto counter, I put that in air quotes, to Osiris that a lot of teams have really liked to pick, and it's because of the fact that you can get to level 6 fairly safely and you're not losing a whole lot on the map before level 6. After that is when you're going to be seeing your first few buffs respawn, and you want to have the advantage, and if Wukong can clear that easily by that time, it's not that big of a deal. Plus, I mean, we saw just what variety can do on a god like Sun Wukong and really dominate a team fighting phase.
Absolutely, but he was against the Bologna, if I'm not mistaken, not an Osiris, and this already is slightly favoring out Deathwalker. He has that 1 level lead. On top of that, he forced Maniac to back about 30 seconds or so, and it's gonna allow him to get that tier 2 boots, but now Deathwalker can back to finish off his, whether it's going to be Warrior or Ninja Tabby, and get that slide edge in the solo lane.
Deathwalker made the same type of rotation in game 1, but this time Pretty Prime wasn't home, so he just heads back to his lane. Prime did have to back because the poke sustained earlier on, but instead of going for any sort of boots, Swift Wing again. Maniac gets the 72 transformations interrupted. Deathwalker doesn't try and shut down that healing because even if Maniac wasn't healing, still had the safety of his tower to jump.
This is going to be very problematic for Maniac. He already used his teleport about a minute prior, and not having the necessary mobility with Swift Wing means he's going to potentially lose some gold and valuable experience under his own tier 1 tower.
Sitting at level 5 still as Deathwalker hits level 6. Rival with a slight gold lead, about 500 gold without any kills on the board. Done a better job of securing those neutral objectives. Remember, they got first 2 fire elemental spawns, and now the first speed buff. You get the spawn as Ataraxia and Vote start going at it on the left-hand side, but Ataraxia escapes towards his side of the map after finding out the Callus is on the way.
I love what Emilzy is doing here on top of what Callus is doing, because Emilzy recognizes there's a solo lane advantage for Rival, so let's protect my speed buff. Callus is like, all right, the mind games are in effect. Emilzy's going to defend his speed. This gives us in the duel lane the opportunity to steal away the red. First small objective going to Rival.
Deathwalker and Ice Baby on this side of the map, and Ice gets ulted right away. He's gonna be dead before he hits the ground. Twig claims first blood for the Obey Alliance. Wolfie's ultimate wasn't gonna help anybody there, but it looks like the speed buff was secured by Obey. So not only do they get both buffs, they get first blood on Ice Baby as well.
Slightly overextending in that solo lane. They didn't have the number advantage that they really needed to because Callus was on the left-hand side and Wolfie wasn't there either, overstepping their boundaries. I'm not surprised. First blood fell victim towards Ice Baby.
Deathwalker uses the ultimate to try and secure that speed, but doesn't do so successfully, and now he's in a world of hurt, but Ice Baby and Kalas show up to support their solo laner. Couldn't defend the buff though, so Obey get another successful invade. Now they're the ones with the slight gold lead in game number 2.
Very unfortunate set of circumstances for Rival, losing that speed buff, but it's now Obey Alliance that want a little bit more. Callus is forced to retreat under his own tier 1 tower. Deathwalker is still lingering around. It's actually going to be Ice Baby jumping onto Captain Twig, almost getting knocked into the tower with that rollout from Emilzy.
Good juke there by Ice. I thought Emilzy was going to be able to push him near that tower line, so Obey escape even after the ultimate from Ice Baby, which did force out the purification beats from Captain Twig. So Obey do get slightly punished for sticking around a long time in that solo lane, but not a big loss there by any means.
No, not at all. The damage was negated basically by the Bumba's Mask. However, needing to back to finish off the Warrior Tabby, and now probably work towards a stone-cutting sword, what I would expect out of a Naja. You know, we've seen a lot of different interesting styles from Naja, whether it's going to be the Talaria boots or going for some more mobility. We really haven't seen too many katanas coming out of Naja's.
Yeah, it could be a mass immune. Naja wants to be in the thick of things, gets that at 50 power, 100 health, and a lot of protections based on how many enemies are around you. Honestly, could be an early Heartseeker here. I mean, Heartseeker used to be pretty meta in the jungle, now a little bit more expensive. As Wolfie throws off that through space of time to the right side of the map, is gonna hit two, but Deathwalker still needs it to retreat. He is gonna be able to use it. Emilzy blinks forward, but the portal is there from Wolfie to get Deathwalker out of danger, and now it's Emilzy locked down by the entirety of Rival. One more hit's gonna do it, as Emilzy's gonna get knocked down, as Ice Baby uses the bracer to get his cooldowns back for the Piranha Onslaught.
What a clutch portal out of Wolfie, placing it on the ground. When you're using your Geb Cataclysm, you are CC immune. However, that portal is going to persist after the fact. You're going to go take that portal, and that actually disrupted the combo that Gebs normally do. The Cataclysm into the knockup, not confirming the kill onto Deathwalker.
Twig, no ultimate. Ice Baby getting pretty low, but the big burst coming out of Wolfie. Kalos going to confirm it. Prime combines, though, with the rest of Obey to find the kill on Ice Baby. Kalos in that dragon form gets up and over the wall as Rival does disengage. A 1-for-1 in the jungle. Jungler for jungler.
What a great performance by both of these teams yet again, just extending these engagements so even despite that first game here, as Obey Alliance was able to secure that one. They're starting to fire things up, feeling very confident to take some of these engagements, and Maniac with a 2-level lead here, building towards a Gladiator Shield. 1-level lead now that Deathwalker hits 8 though.
Tell you what, we haven't seen a lot of Giannis as of late, but Wolfie's making me question why. This Giannis play has been really solid. It's been a part of both kills for Rival thus far and putting out some decent damage in the early game. He's got that Sands of Time, so he has an inherent 10% CDR built in. Probably going to be a Spear of Desolation here as a second item. And that's an item that has really become popular across a lot of mages, but really synergizes well with what Giannis wants to do. Put that burst damage in with the Unstable Vortex, but also have enough CDR to play that slight utility role as well.
The utility game is probably the biggest impact that a Giannis can provide for his team. Nice little stun from a Maniac here, but Captain Twig not wanting to pull the trigger against such a resilient god.
Deathwalker is below 50% HP as Wolfie lurking in the right side, gets 2/3 of the fire elementals, but loses the big one to the rotation from Emilzy and Pretty Prime. Maniac has taken control of this lane, as you mentioned, working into a Gladiator Shield, has that XP advantage, and as you mentioned, Toli, in the early game, it's gonna be Osiris's lane. Now that we're hitting double digits in levels, though, Maniac's starting to run it.
Especially with this Mark of the Vanguard being invested by Deathwalker, he's going to be a little bit behind in some of these tier 2, tier 3 items. And this is going to allow more pressure for Maniac, as long as he doesn't get stunned out too much, but already dealing more damage than he's receiving.
Maniac does fall pretty low, but both players low on mana. I don't know if Deathwalker even has enough to use the ultimate.
I mean, both of them do have mana buff, and with the Death's Toll, you're still getting mana per hit, especially with those cleave in hands out of the Broken God. Osiris doing great work sustaining in the lane.
Maniac is waiting for that wave to come into his tower as both members of Rival decide to allow him to farm that up safely. Deathwalker just wants to head back to base. No teleport quite yet for him, but having cleared out that wave, should be able to get back in time to defend his tier 1.
Both, though, overextending slightly in the dual lane. He does recognize that red buff will respawn ever so slightly. Maybe he actually doesn't have the timer. He's just looking to see if the rotation is going to be made by Ataraxia.
Nice stun there by Prime. Prevents any additional follow-up onto Captain Twig after he got stunned by Kalos' hammer. Ice Baby wanted to step up and throw some pot shots into the Obey jungler, but Pretty Prime said no. We're 10 minutes in, 2-2 read the kills. Rival have the slightest of leads in terms of gold. XP looks to be slightly in their favor in a couple of lanes, a little bit behind in that solo lane. XP is even less than that gold difference. This game's even, Toli.
A lot of the action has been around the solo lane here. No attempts towards the Gold Fury quite yet. Not that big of a team fight advantage for either side, as a lot of these engagements has been a 1-for-1 trade. And with such a short respawn timer, you're not going to be pulling the trigger quite yet on that objective.
Though there is some posturing around the Gold Fury from Rival, at least for the moment. Instead, they're just looking for the oracles right as they respawn. They will gain vision around that Gold Fury that cannot be countered. Both teams have a sentry ward on that Gold Fury just in case, but the Oracle vision will obviously trump either of those wards. But Captain Twig making his rotation onto the right-hand side, and Deathwalker could be in some trouble. He goes up and down with that ultimate and jukes out the sash, still looking for the kills. There comes through space and time. It clips Twig, but not enough quite damage to find the kill. Maniac trying to find his escape path as Twig looks for the ultimate. Wolfie uses the beads, but it wouldn't have mattered because that ultimate whiffed. Prime makes the rotation and puts some shots into Ice Ice Baby.
Doing a lot of damage between, oh, nice bracer timing from Ice Ice Baby. He took all that damage from Pre to Prime, and then immediately the ring bounces from Captain Twig, already sending out more than half of his health, and Gold Fury is being sneaky. Rival trying to secure this one.
Ataraxia shows up and gets met by Vote, who puts some good damage into Obey's Hunter, but the knockup is enough, and now Ataraxia is the one going aggressive. Emilzy with the Blink Cataclysm, both relics used by Vote, is now he's gonna take to the sky. First shot gonna miss, looking for Ataraxia. Aegis out on the second as Deathwalker teleports in. Maniac's here and is stunned out, but it's not gonna be enough. Cudgel knocks down Vote.
And Callus is very low as well, still getting stunned out. He doesn't have Somersault Cloud. It's gonna be a 1-for-1 for now. Here comes Wolfie with the threshold to allow the mobility being increased, taking that portal. Unstable Vortex doing quite a bit of damage here, but not having through space and time as it was used on the right-hand side means that Obey Alliance is gonna cleanly disengage.
Prime's ultimate just barely missed the head of Kala, so he's able to escape. Great burst on the Maniac, who just with how much action has been going on in the solo lane, has not been able to maintain a big lead over the rest of the players in the game. He's even with Deathwalker right now. It's no shot at either of their farming. It's just the fact that there's been so much action over there that they have not been able to get that runaway freight train feel to them. In fact, they're down in levels to the mid laners.
It's been shared a lot of experience here as the junglers has made their presence known in the solo lane, whether it was a speed buff on one side or the other. Callus gonna get stunned out there, not much damage to follow up after the fact, doing a great job avoiding Captain Twig on the right. And it's gonna be interesting to see if Rival continue the pressure in the dueling. You leave Rival alone for 5-10 seconds with a Fafnir, they're gonna try to go for that objective every single time.
And Vote is almost done with that third item. Once he finishes off whatever that is, Executioner or Chin Size, it's gonna be much easier for that Gold Fury to be bursted down quickly. Kallus has finished off that Hide of the Urchin, the stacking protection item that so many supports love these days, but Emilzy's gone for a different style here, Totally. Instead, with the Jade Emperor's Crown, what's the benefit to each of these support builds?
I mean, we're looking at the side of Callus, and he's expecting some of these team fights to really happen very early on in his team's favor, and by getting those extra protections on both physical and magical, he's going to be setting himself for that mid game, whereas we're seeing Emilzy taking a safer approach wherever there's going to be any CC chain to just amplify a little bit more damage.
Pretty Prime tried to steal those oracles away, but was unsuccessful in doing so. Maniac and some pressure on this right-hand side, falling below 30% HP as through space and time once more hits Twig, who seems to be a magnet for that ultimate so far.
Thought it was about to clip Maniac as well. I'm not sure if it would have been enough to kill the solo laner. However, it would have probably definitely at least forced him to back, and without teleport for another 40 seconds or so, that would have been a small opportunity to push under this tier 1 tower.
Deathwalker trying to take the 2v1 and goes for the exact same play. This time, Twig and Maniac knew it was coming. No through space and time to help him out, but Ice Ice Baby is here to do that instead. Maniac used his ultimate in response to the Mystic Rush. Now the focus is on to Ice Ice Baby. Maniac gets the kill, but Twig is gonna get cleaned up by the rotation from Wolfie and Kalas. This has been the story all game long, Toli. 1-for-1 yet again between Rival and Obey.
4 separate engagements, 4 separate 1-for-1s. It's tied in the kill department. Rival still have a slight goal lead, but it doesn't really matter considering it's a 15-minute game. The Gold Fury is still intact, barely keeping his tier 1 mid tower alive. Wolfie making a nice rotation.
Vote feels confident enough to throw out the aggressive dash as left side mid Harpies get split down the middle between Obey and Rival. Which team composition is favored in the later stages? Because I'm looking at both and I'm seeing a lot of late game potential from both sides.
I'm favoring Rival ever so slightly simply because they have the Rom and the Fafnir. That AoE coerce is going to be helping out Vote so well, especially with Deathwalker and Ice Ice Baby that could synergize very well with having some extra attack speed to follow up. Ice Ice Baby will be building his passive shield meter even further by having extra attack speed.
Rival does have 2 bracers of undoing, and as you've heard many pro players say as of late, it's great in the early game, but in the late game when everyone has anti-heal, it's really not that useful for the heal, mostly used for that 3-second cooldown reduction instantly. Maniac getting bullied now. It was Deathwalker's lane, then it was Maniac's, and now it seems to be Deathwalker's once more.
And that seems to be the case between these two soul laners. They're just taking turns of controlling that lane at one point or another. Both of these teams deciding to kind of flirt with the Portal Demon instead of going for the Gold Fury. Normally, you see the left side objective taken first.
A little bit less risky in one way for Portal Demon because if you pull it and end up getting it stolen away, it's not as much gold, you're not as worried about that. But on the other hand, it's also a little bit riskier if you get wiped at that Portal Demon. That's an easy Fire Giant for the other team. So a little bit of a risk reward there, but neither team feels confident enough to make it happen as Kala stuffs the rollout for Emilzy.
I like what Emilzy was doing, trying to get the CC immunity in time to prevent that stun from even occurring, but Cal is not going to be messing around, stunning him before the CC immunity, and now Bay Alliance are trying to secure their own speed buff while some members of Rival want to start an engage.
Twig misses the sash, there's the shield and the ultimate, but it's on a Deathwalker who's up in the sky. Not a lot of damage from him, and then Twig gets clipped once more by through space in time. Deathwalker is gonna get credit. Nice final judgment from Prime, but it's not enough to finish off the enemy solo. Wolfie is chunking right now, and Maniac gets controlled by Rival. No 1-for-1 this time. 2 kills still, but they're both for Rival. They find the 2 for 0 in the enemy jungle.
So unfortunate for Maniac, just that chain crowd control locking the Sun Wukong in place. Rival now with that 2-kill surplus, having a slight power play advantage as Captain Twig's dead for 10 seconds. Maniac 25, not having teleport either, gives them a slight opportunity to maybe go for an objective, but it seems they're still not confident yet to go for it.
They did use all 5 ultimates in that last engagement, but I'm a little surprised we don't see Rival at least try and group up and push a tower. 3v5, I mean, yeah, Ataraxia still had his ult, but Airstrike isn't that big game-changing ultimate, at least in terms of damage. It's usually used to get away.
And Vote was able to make the rotation before Ataraxia. He made the half rotation just to throw out that ultimate, whereas Ataraxia had to stay in that dual lane, making the necessary farm plays, finishing off this chin size, trying to find some sort of advantage against Vote.
Well, he's a little bit behind right now because, remember, Vote started with Bluestone Pendant and the Mace, so that he's going to be able to turn that Mace into a penetration item very, very quickly, whereas Ataraxia went for the Bumba's Mask, which Bumba's Mask, I understand why we're seeing it so much in competitive play, but if there were a hunter that I really wouldn't feel like picking up Bumba's Mask on, it would be Jingwei because of how often she gets the back.
Absolutely. You're not really required to have that extra damage towards the jungle camps if you could just back to secure them yourself. Every single time those back harpies respawn, Jingwei is just right on top of it. And Ataraxia, though, has been doing a good job of keeping up in the level department against both of these two hunters sitting at level 17.
Ataraxia going to be going for an Executioner right after his chin size. Vote did end up using that Mace and goes for the Titan's Bane instead. So a little bit more focus on the Shred for Vote, and the objective damage as well.
Absolutely, whether he's focusing out these towers or the Gold Fury Fire Giant, especially getting increased attack speed, whether it's his own steroid or the steroid provided by Callus with a Coerce, it's going to be very quick and easy objective control from Rival. However, they need that small window. It's not needed to be very long either. About 8 seconds is all they need.
We mentioned the 2 bracers on the side of Rival earlier on. The only anti-heal I'm seeing totally is that Pestilence from Emilzy, and certainly not enough to deal with the potency of bracers. In fact, Collis has upgraded his, gaining a little bit of extra HP and mana back. I believe that's 60% now with that upgrade.
Not by much, but it's still something to write home about, especially in the later stages, once Pretty Prime is going to be absolutely chunking with all of his hits. He has the penetration available with his Shoes of the Magi and that Spear of Desolation, and now with the fully finished Book of Thoth stacks, the magical power is clearly evident from Pretty Prime.
That's true, but at the same time, Wolfie's got his Obsidian Shard now, so he's got even more penetration of than that of Pretty Prime. Unless, I guess, you factor in the passive from Thoth, which you should, because it's a ton of free pen, 20 in total from whenever you're able to finish off, stacking up that little passive book that Thoth always carries around.
Well, either way, still no action in that goal fairy, but hold that thought. Rival are now going to start it up yet again. Callus tanking it, but calling to disengage immediately once they saw Ataraxia, even baiting out the teleport out of Maniac. Vote was considering killing the Warp, but like, you know what? Let's allow this teleport to happen, but this might have been the wrong call.
There's through space of time and puts Ataraxia down to half HP. There's the ultimate right onto Ice Baby though, and he's gonna be low as soon as he returns to the ground. He's gonna be dead as soon as he hits the ground. Wolfie returns one onto Maniac. Stop me if you've heard this one before. It's a 1-for-1.
Absolutely. Just devastation for both of these two teams. They can't get away from this 1-for-1 rhythm, it seems. It's just destined, almost.
Only one fight has gone in one team's favor. That was Rival, but they weren't able to do anything objective-wise afterwards. Wolfie very low on mana here, and Obey going to use this opportunity to push down that very, very low HP Tier 1, so that's an extra 500 gold for Obey, but still slightly behind, about 1,000 gold behind Team Rival.
Just waiting on longer respawn timers before trying to go for some of these objectives. Obey Alliance, they're staggering their goal to about 1,000 gold deficit here, but now positioning themselves around this Gold Fury. Pretty Prime and Ataraxia were thinking about it after seeing Voto having to disengage. Emilzy joining the fray of that Gold Fury, but really needs to back to finish off some of his items.
Sitting at, after finishing the Pestilence, now looks like it's going to be a Gauntlet of Thieves later on in this build. Kalas, on the other hand, sold his Lono's Mask, I believe that was, yeah, right after the Watcher's Gift, to pick up a Jader Emperor's crown of his own. So a little bit of different styles from the two supports as Twig gets stunned, but receives a shield from Emilzy to get him out of the damage from Wolfie.
Very important for Emilzy to really look for some of these shields to prevent the long-range poke from Team Rival that is constantly going to be trying to get any sort of advantage they can before the full action of the next team fight occurs.
Deathwalker uses ultimate aggressively on that right side and couldn't find the solo kill on a Maniac. Couldn't even force out the ult, but I think it might have just been in the name of trying to knock down this Tier 1 tower. Maniac, no teleport. He's going to give it up. 500 gold for Rival answered back after Rival lost their Tier 1 in mid.
Well, 23 minutes into the game, I'm not too worried if I'm Obey Alliance after losing only a Tier 1 solo tower. I am worried, though, if I lose this Gold Fury.
Already below 50%, but Emilzy's going to roll in and then get stunned. The focus is onto the Geb, and he gets taken down by Vote. Twig is there, but no ultimate from him quite yet. There it is, right onto Ice Baby once more. Prime gonna delete him with the final judgment, but there's a through space of time once more from Wolfie. Snipes come down from Vote, but it's not enough to finish off Captain Twig, who pops a little bit of a heal with that flaming spear. Kalas comes back to support the team as Maniac did a good job of forcing everyone out. But my God, Tolly, it's a 1-for-1.
Absolutely, yet again, another 1-for-1, but this time around, Rival have 4 members around this Gold Fury. They're very low, which triggers Pretty Prime to try to go offensively, having Maniac right behind him.
I'll tell you what, it's not often that a Thoth can dash in front of 4 people and everyone runs away, but that's just how low all of Rival was. Wolfie, Kalas, and Vote still sticking around, but the rest of Obey has come back from healing up, and now they're trying to full commit to this Gold Fury. Stun onto Vote. That unstable Vortex actually pulls it away from Obey, and now they're finally going to be able to secure it. First Gold Fury of the game finally goes down, and Obey Alliance tie the game.
It's just a tie. It's been 24 minutes for the first Gold Fury.
45 gold difference.
You know, experience is not a tie, but that 1,500 experience deficit doesn't really matter if I'm Obey Alliance. I'm really worried about this next engagement instead. Captain Twig has been doing such a great job setting up Pretty Prime every single opportunity because there's no magical defense on Ice Baby. He has the health from the Winged Blade, but that's about it.
Final judgment confirms the Portal Demon, but Deathwalker is here, and it's a big Lord of the Afterlife. Chases down Twig, who forces out that ultimate. All of Obey on the run. Maniac lands down in place.
Oh, no.
Through space and time. Wolfie gonna be able to pick him up, and now Vote's looking for the snipes. Ataraxia trying to juke it out, but Ice doesn't let him airstrike anyone. There's a 2-for-0 Rival once more.
Great job from Rival winning that engagement, but without that Portal Demon available, they're not wanting to go for the Fire Giant. They're going to try to poke out Pretty Prime. Nice little Aegis from Vote, preventing the damage from Emilzy here, and they should be able to get this Tier 1 tower in the mid.
Captain Twig blinks just to try and help out Pretty Prime in that mid lane. Twig didn't have ult, but he would have had a sash to try and help out his mid laner. Obey lose 2 members there, and it looks like they might have lost a third as Vote went aggressive, but a good play from Prime almost turned it around onto the Hunter. Deathwalker trying to invade the enemy purple buff, but Twig's ring bounce will secure that for his team.
I'm really surprised Rival didn't try to force anything in the mid lane prior, but now they are as they're grouped up. The rest of Obey Alliance trying to secure their own red buff as Captain Twig is getting baited out by Deathwalker. This is a very tanky soul laner with a lot of physical defense that's going to be able to die this tier 2 tower.
Twig has no ultimate, has to use the beads and misses the sash. Obey Ataraxia is here, and now Deathwalker's forced to ult away. Maniac tried to chase him down, his sprint is popped by Kalas. Not enough damage from Deathwalker quite yet, and he's gonna get the portal from Wolfie. Problem for Rival though is that Pretty Prime finished off Ice Baby by that red buff. Wolfie did manage to pick it up, but now on the run. Portal stops the aggression from Ataraxia, and Obey's just gonna have to take that 1 kill that they earned.
Who needs the ultimate setup from Captain Twig when Pretty Prime can set up himself with that final judgment, deleting Ice Baby yet again? I'm surprised that he's going for the Void Shield instead of magical defense, because almost all of his deaths have been from Pretty Prime.
Almost all of the deaths on Team Rival have been Ice Baby. Obey has 7 kills, Ice has 6 deaths. I mean, that has been the clear focus from Obey Alliance, specifically that of Captain Twig, who's been trying to make sure that Robin is dead before he hits the ground so that that bracer doesn't make an impact, the overhead kick doesn't make an impact, Mystic Rush can't get him away. It's just been that quick burst of damage coming down from the Windfire wheels that set these team fights in motion for Obey. Even with that early pick, though, it hasn't been able to result in much as Deathwalker under pressure on his right-hand side. Through space of time comes through, and Deathwalker once more taking that portal out.
But it's now Obey Alliance trying to disengage and reset while they're waiting for some cooldowns. Maniac, though, he's not interested in disengaging. He's actually taking more damage than expected. Forced to go into that somersault cloud just to regain some health.
For the snipes, and he's gonna find him on a Pretty Prime. Now Maniac is very low, trying to get away. Twig able to escape as well. Emilzy finds the 2-man Cataclysm, Ataraxia airstrikes, and waves goodbye to the support that sacrificed his life to make sure that Obey could leave unscathed. 2 members down, Pretty Prime and Emilzy. No portals even here for Rival. Could they look at the Fire Giant here?
It should be the case. Kalas still has his ultimate to go into that Draconic form and get the AoE coerce, but he's doing a great job just zoning Captain Twig away. He spots out the vision. He doesn't have to worry about the ring bounces that would absolutely devastate the rest of his team, and Rival secured themselves the first Fire Giant of the game.
Prime died. I don't know if his relics came up during this respawn timer, if we never got a chance to use him, but it was great coordination from Rival. Vote all the way in the lane is able to help out with that quick pick onto Obey's mid laner, and now they've got that Fire Giant. And honestly, if I'm Obey, I agree with giving up that fire, because let's be real, like we've said all day, Fire Giant hasn't really done much for any of the teams that get it.
Absolutely. Rival, they only have about a 3,000 goal lead at the 29-minute mark. That's so insignificant, doesn't even matter. 5,000 experience can be swept under the rug as well. As Obey Alliance, all they have to worry about is making sure their Phoenixes don't go down quite yet. Maybe one tier 2 tower can be expended at the cost of this 3-minute duration of the Fire Giant buff.
The problem here, though, for Obey is that there's a lot of their towers still standing. They've got 2 tier 2s in mid and left, and they've got another tier 1 in left. So that's 2,500 gold just kind of waiting to be taken, and that's before this Gold Fury. Rival's gonna get this one uncontested. Obey nowhere in the neighborhood. This is gonna be Rival's first Gold Fury of the game. And now this gold lead, after these towers go down, is going to be very significant. So don't be surprised if you see Obey try and defend one of these tier 2s.
It could be the case here. 5,500 almost right now. It could go to about 9,000 after both of the towers in middle or in the left-hand side tier 2, and then the tier 1 that just fell as well. Could see Obey Alliance trying to defend here. A very aggressive blink from Captain Twig could be all that's required to save one of these towers.
And remember, Rival's up about 5,000 gold, but a lot of that they just earned and haven't been able to back to spend quite yet. So that gold lead isn't in actuality as big as it looks. Love this call from Rival. Portal Demon just respawned. Let's get that and spend the gold we deserved so our gold lead is as significant as it looks.
And then proceed towards that tier 2 in the mid lane. Nice little tactical play from Rival, just slowing things down for a little bit. They still have Fire Giant buff for another minute and 45 seconds, and this is exactly what they're doing. Fully optimizing the duration of this buff, trying to knock down all of these towers at the right opportunity.
Gem of Isolation for Kalas in support. Why do we see it on the Fafnir, Tolly?
Well, the Fafnir is an interesting choice here because of the AoE damage that he can provide with his hammer once he goes into that draconic form. It's also going to be slowing members down to allow the rest of his team to provide the damage that they need. And on top of that, his in-hands hurt a lot.
That's true, and remember, Coerce gives the person that you coerce your in-hand effect, so your abilities are now going to be slowing because of Kalas's Gem of Isolation, a cool little interaction. Deathwalker takes a lot of damage, but Ice Ice Baby's into the back line. Through space and time, misses Pretty Prime, and Emilzy finds a big Cataclysm, but Ataraxia and Prime are forced out of this fight already. Vote a little bit too far away to find the snipes, but it's all in the name of creating enough space to secure the tier 2 tower. Rival does that without shedding too much blood. And they feel like they might be able to shred this Phoenix before Obey can heal up.
They should be able to. They don't have to worry about Pretty Prime's ultimate. It was used in that last engagement. Ice Ice Baby could be targeted out here. He's trying to take that threshold movement speed bonus. Will do so successfully without anyone from Obey Alliance stopping him in his tracks. Getting that middle Phoenix, now extending the goal lead of Team Rival by 8,000.
Love the confidence by Rival. They didn't get any kills, and they still had to get the tier 2 tower once they had forced everyone from Obey back, but they knew with Bolt being late game Rom, who has a Titan's Bane, with Kalas having that Shogun's Kusari and the Coerce attack speed buff available to him, that Phoenix was not going to last long. Just great game awareness, knowing how long it would take them to knock down the Phoenix, and knowing that they had enough time.
Things are looking to be on the up and up for Team Rival as they get the first Phoenix of the game. And if we look at the kills here, we're seeing both Ice Ice Baby and Kalas having this 100% kill participation. These are the two frontliners from Rival that's been so successful in diving the backline. And now with the Spirit's Robe on the side of the Raven jungle, he's able to absorb some extra damage despite not having too much magical defense.
Wolfie has that Rod of Tahuti as well. A lot of power items being completed for Rival. Wolfie's had a very solid game on this Giannis, 3-0-9, second on his team in player damage. He's really not far behind that of Thoth, who is really thought of as one of the premier damage dealers in that mid lane, and for good reason. It really tells you how well Wolfie has played so far in game 2.
He's been doing a good job about hitting some of his ultimates from the distance. On top of that, connecting on some of these unstable vortexes through some of these walls. It's going to be Kalas zoning out alongside Ice Ice Baby, while the other 3 Rival members trying to secure their second Fire Giant.
And look at where Wolfie is, charging up that through space and time. He's going to shoot it, and it's going to rip through the Obey Alliance. Prime gets decimated by Rival. The snipes are going to finish him off from Vote. Ataraxia is going to escape with the airstrike. Unstable Vortex not going to finish off Twig, as Maniac is getting handled by Vote on that backside by a race. Somehow Obey's only lost 1, but he's still chasing him down.
He didn't connect on the Unstable Vortex in the mid lane. Slows him down with a threshold, but he's forced to retreat as Ataraxia's passive will cut the distance. Captain Twig using that ring bounce to give him mobility to run away from Ice Ice Baby, while Wolfie retreats in the mid lane. Could look to cut off Captain Twig. Nice jump over the wall from Kalas. Rival securing Fire Giant and securing another kill onto Captain Twig.
Maniac is going to have to escape with that 72 transformations. Obey somehow only lost 2 during that engagement, because that was a perfect funneling by Rival of Obey into that tiny little corridor, and everything looked to be connecting. Somehow Obey escaped, but not unscathed. They lose the Fire Giant, they lose Prime, eventually they lose Twig as well, and honestly, Twig being that delayed on the respawn timer is a good thing for Rival.
Absolutely. It's going to be another 30 seconds or so, giving them plenty of time to get this right side Phoenix. And as long as Obey Alliance don't lose any more members, they're still going to hold on to their Titan, extending the game. And I think that's what Rival were hoping. They were hoping that Obey Alliance would try to defend that right side Phoenix. And if there was some more kills, could have seen game number 2 going Rival's way instantly.
Rival making their way towards the Portal Demon right as it's due to respawn. Another 30-minute game that's been pretty close, but Rival for the last 15 minutes or so has started to separate themselves. You can see actually is less than that. It's really the last 8 minutes or so on the graphs is where that big rise starts to happen for the side of blue. Rival doubling Obey Alliance in kills now 14-7. Gold lead at this stage of the game, not really that important. All you need to know is that Rival has some big power spike items and is very, very close to full build. Obey, just about every member needs one more, just a little bit more gold to finish them off.
It's going to seem that Obey Alliance are just going to let everything go. They don't care about going beyond that imaginary mid line. They have to worry about defending both the middle and the right-hand side as these fire minions are going to start trickling down. Middle Phoenix has respawned, but I believe there's one more fire minion wave that Obey Alliance need to take away before they can leave that mid lane alone.
Wolfie and Vote making their way up the left-hand side. That is the clear choice for where Rival wants to be, as it's the only tower still standing. No chance Obey tries to defend there. Probably closer to that left side. Phoenix is the mid one, as you mentioned, just now respawning. Gonna be at half HP, half effectiveness in terms of the defense.
Rival are grouped up here. They're trying to get this tier 2 tower on the left. They will do so successfully without any contention from Obey Alliance. They're just trying to get some poke off through the wall. The long range snipes coming from Pretty Prime is good enough to try to get some consistent poke off.
Vote and the rest of Rival shoving up this mid Phoenix. Deathwalker going in underneath that mid Phoenix as Ice Ice Baby follows him right there through space and time. Not gonna hit this time, but the snipe from Vote will, putting pressure onto Prime. Mid Phoenix still stands for the moment, finally finished off as Emilzy cleans up Wolfie. Kalas will find one on Ataraxia as well. Deathwalker knocked up in the back as everyone from Obey trying to get back to their Titan to try and defend. Emilzy's 1 HP. Ice is gonna finish him off. Ice is gonna finish off Captain Twig as well. The Titan falling low. Rival is going to find game 2 and even up this best of 5 with the Obey Alliance.